Peace and blessings, family. How are you all doing? I trust that you are well and blessed in the midst of the storm. So, welcome to new and returning listeners. It's great to have you with us for another live session. And just in case you're wondering, yes, this is an entirely new topic tonight. I had already prepared the continuation discussion from the message on Sunday, and lo and behold, during prayer this morning, got a new message. Yeah, so I've been busy today working on the new message. In a lot of ways, though, it's tied into the series regarding the people of the beast kingdoms from Daniel's vision. But this one is going to be specific to what's happening in the nation right now. So I will upload the session that I was going to do tonight on Sunday. That will be the Sunday morning message. And we'll be talking about America and the changing climate that's leading to their ultimate goal, which is to take back what they believe was stolen from them. And who did they steal it from? That's never a question that they want to talk about. But we're going to be talking about some of those things. And then we're going to cover some additional information because we need to be reminded about a few things to see how the pieces of the puzzle come together for their day of judgment. So, yes, I know I mentioned after the video upload on Sunday that we would continue that discussion, but change of plans. And you know what we have to do? It's not our work, it's the Most High's work. So we need to obey and do what Yah would have us to do. So, again, welcome to all of you joining me tonight. Those who may be joining us for the first time, welcome to all of you. Peace and blessings. So I'll take comments or look at your comments near the end. I do want to get started with this because the thing is, things are happening so quickly right now. It's really easy to lose sight of what their ultimate end will be. You know, when you look at the headlines, it can instill fear. When you see all the things being talked about in the media, and we know that some of those things are, specific to us. We're not naive. So we know that there's a plan in place, but Abba Yah has a plan as well. And my daughter shared a great point during our last Bible study. She was basically talking about how dangerous is, you all, dangerous it is to spend 4 hours listening to the breaking news, the headline news, and only 10 minutes praying or spending time in Yah's presence. If you're doing it that way, you are going to struggle through this season. It should be just the opposite. Yes, you want to know what's going on. But as things continue to escalate, you need to spend even more time preparing yourself spiritually. But let me give you a disclaimer before I get into this tonight. Don't think this message is about politics, because it's not. I'm not for either of those parties. I think you all have heard me say that before if you've been with me for a while. I'm not for either party. Same bird, just different wings. But I need you to see some things that are in black and white. So we're going to dig into this. I want you to listen to this first video.
We're back now with a troubling story out of Ohio, where tonight a community is uniting after confronting a group of white supremacists who wave swastika flags on a highway overpass. The confrontation happening on the outskirts of Lincoln Heights, a historically black community. NBC's Antonia Hilton has more, and a warning: this report contains offensive images.
A hateful demonstration unfolding on an overpass in Cincinnati as more than a dozen people gathered, donning all black and waving Nazi flags, weapons, and yelling racial slurs. Community members quickly confronting the group. Traffic camera video showing the moment those demonstrators rush back into a U-Haul truck and leave. Social media video appearing to show the same moment from the perspective of the demonstrators. The crowd that drove them away, burning the swastika flags left behind. Local police responded to the incident on Friday around 2 p.m., but made no arrests, in a statement calling the gathering offensive but legal.
The reason that I made the decision when I first encountered them that I was not making an arrest was because there was no law being violated. They were open carrying in accordance with Ohio's open carry law.
Reverend and community leader Julian Cook demanding answers.
Were you surprised that no arrests were made?
Absolutely. We had questions about why there was no arrest made when there were clear violations of the law. For example, in the state of Ohio, it is illegal to ride as a passenger in the back of a cargo truck. We wanted to make sure, had these individuals been checked for warrants, these signs that were hung on the bridge, that's government property, that's vandalism.
The racist demonstration took place on the border of the historic black community of Lincoln Heights, the first black self-governing town to form above the Mason-Dixon line, America's dividing line between the North and South. To black residents, this location was no coincidence.
So do you all think that was a coincidence? Not at all. But the purpose was very clear. They have been given the green light and they know it. Some of you may remember these two videos that I uploaded a few months ago. I really encourage you to listen to them if you have not done so, because everything that's happening in the news right now with this current administration is what early believers understood about salvation before it was changed to mean it's eternal salvation that you receive after you die. But our ancestors knew that salvation was primarily about being delivered from your enemy. And it was how the Most High restored his people to their rightful place. The enemies knew that our people had a warrior who fought for us, and it brought about peace and prosperity. That's what they are receiving right now. I need you to really think about this. They are pretty much getting everything they thought they want. Okay? So this is a form of what European Americans are experiencing right now, and I'm calling it salvation because that's how it was perceived for our people. When you had someone fighting on your behalf, you know, when you feel like you've been marginalized, mistreated, etc., there is a warrior who fights for you. He fights for his people. They are his priority. So let's look at what salvation really means. I covered this before, but we need to get this. What is salvation? This is from BibleStudy.org. So salvation, in the Old Testament, the word salvation is recorded 119 times. It is derived primarily from 3 Hebrew words. The first of these, Yeshua. So it can mean receiving salvation physically or spiritually. So it can reference being rescued or made safe. It means being rescued or delivered in a physical or spiritual sense. We were only taught about the spiritual form of salvation, and we were told that you would receive it when you leave here, when you die. So this is why you need to understand the true meaning. It's not just about what happens after you die. So right now, we need to be making our petitions known often to the Father, asking him to send his salvation for his people. We already know that there is no one else who can deliver us. We're facing what David faced. Goliath had the height, the strength, and the weapons. In the natural, David was no match for him. But what was the end result? That giant came crashing down. And when he fell, it caused mass confusion and fear in his camp, and it brought about salvation in Israel. Yah was able to use one young boy who knew how to stand in faith as he faced a giant. David wasn't confident in himself. He was confident in the one who was with him. So let's take a look at this. This is a list of the top tier cabinet picks for this administration. 17 of them have ties to Project 2025. 12 of them held events at Mar-a-Lago, and 11 were Fox News hosts and contributors. Of course, you know that Ramaswamy didn't last too long, but there's one chocolate chip left. Look at this. Now, this is the list with the 4 vacant positions that remain. Look at this. So there's currently one, and for what position, you all? HUD, Housing and Urban Development. Now remember that Ben Carson, a highly qualified neurosurgeon, was appointed to the same position. He lacked housing policy experience when he took that cabinet position. Why not offer him a role more in line with his experience in medicine, since we're so concerned with highly qualified people being in the right position? Was he a DEI hire? And here we are again, the one chocolate chip in the basket, Scott Turner. He's an American businessman, motivational speaker, politician, and former professional football player. He was nominated for what position? HUD. We should just point out here that a number of these picks have zero experience for the roles they're appointed to. Zero experience. So why were they chosen over those who are qualified for the roles? Do you see the blatant hypocrisy here? Most of these people are not qualified. Zero skills for the position. The message is, we don't care if they have experience or not. We have a certain agenda, and these people will help us move that agenda forward. I hope you see that, because it's blatant. Come on now. Most of them don't even have the experience. Why were they chosen? But inquiring minds are still asking, why not one of these who were thumping so hard for him? They didn't even get a second-rate spot. But hey, there's still 4 more, so who knows? Who knows? Now, before you think I'm all about DEI initiatives, no. I just want to set the record straight. Listen to this from the Wentworth report. It says, diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders who were hired in ways to help companies achieve an ethnically balanced workforce after George Floyd's murder in 2020 are being phased out. Surveys indicate, leaving experts in the field concerned that corporations' talk of affecting change change was just empty words. DEI professionals are losing their jobs as layoffs across the economy have gained momentum. The attrition rate for DEI roles was 33% at the end of 2022, compared to 21% for non-DEI roles. Another survey showed that Black employees represent only 3.8% of chief diversity officers overall, with white people making up 76.1% of the roles. Let that sink in. Those of Hispanic or Latino ethnicity make up 7.8%, and those of Asian ethnicity make up 7.7%. So all of them are higher than us. It says the stunning absence of Black people in chief diversity officer roles in companies makes DEI professionals cringe. So it says, follow the money. Who's the money going to? This is the part that they don't talk about in the media. So what was DEI really about? Because when you hear about it in the media, it comes across as a program for so-called African Americans. It's supposed to benefit us. But it's really for those in the 96% category. It wasn't for us. So let's see who benefited the most. DEI programs benefit many groups, not just Black and brown communities. White women have been one of the biggest beneficiaries of diversity programs in the workplace. Who's next? The LGBTQ community. So how is this benefiting us, really, when white women were the biggest beneficiaries? And lo and behold, they also benefited the most from affirmative action. Who else? Families who need IVF. DEI programs and employee resource groups have also played a significant role in ushering in health insurance coverage for employees needing fertility treatments. Did you all know that? There are folks who received health insurance coverage for fertility treatments. They are included in the numbers of DEI hires. Now, just think about that now. It says employees of all races, genders, ethnicities, religions, and sexual orientations want to build families. However, 1 in 6 couples will face infertility. So, you all, who really benefited the most? Just think about that. Who really benefited the most? I think it's pretty obvious there. Who else benefited? Disabled people and veterans. I don't see why we wouldn't have benefits for those two groups. And I'm not saying they should be in positions if they're not qualified. You can only get away with that, though, if it's a cabinet position in the government. You don't have to be qualified. We're going somewhere with this, folks, so just hang in there. Just hang in there. So look at this from Brookings. It says wealth increases during the pandemic did not narrow the persistent racial wealth gap. In 2022, for every $100 in wealth held by white households, Black households held only $15. This was during the pandemic. Their wealth still went up. Ours did not. make that make sense. Look at this. Look at this graph. Just look at this and let it sink in. Where are we on this graph? Look at the tiny light blue portion at the bottom. So please tell me why they're so afraid of our progress. How long would it take us to reach their level of wealth? How long? Look at this. The fact is, things have not changed for us. It says the black-white wealth gap has remained stubbornly persistent. Stubbornly persistent? Why? Because it's designed to stay that way. That's the system. It's designed to be this way. I'm sure you all heard about this in the news recently. Blacks need not apply. U.S. military's racist decision to stop recruiting service members from Black engineering event draws backlash. It says, as President Donald Trump's administration continues to scour federal agencies of all DEI programs and initiatives, a U.S. military recruiting agency recently announced that it will no longer recruit potential service members from a renowned Black engineering event. On Monday, military.com reported that the Army and other service branches will end their enlistment efforts at the Black Engineer of the Year Awards, an annual event that invites students, academics, and professionals with expertise. In what fields? We're looking at technology, engineering, and math. So do not recruit those who have the skills and merit. Now you tell me, what's the disqualifier then? Race. Race. Let's look at this from MSN. It's a snapshot of Black and white disparities in income, wealth, savings, and more. So it says Black Americans had $4.9 trillion in wealth as of the third quarter of 2023, compared to $120.4 trillion. Let that sink in. About $5 trillion compared to $120 trillion. White Americans held 85% of the country's wealth, while Black Americans held 4%, despite representing 59% and 14% of the population. 4%. So at a minimum, we should at least be at 14% when you look at the wealth. At least 14%. But we're at 4%. If our people only hold 4% of the wealth, why are we a threat? But when you use words like diversity and equity, most people don't think that it's talking about white women or the alphabet community. They automatically assume that it's a program that will help our people. Why is that the perception, though? It was created to maintain the status quo. This is the Black history we need to know about. So Time says, affirmative action has helped white women more than anyone. Than anyone, you all. Look at this from ThoughtCo. Civil rights polities in the United States civil rights politics in the United States is rooted in the social and political marginalization of Black Americans. This is what civil rights was supposed to be about, is what they're saying. It was supposed to be about addressing the marginalization of Black Americans, beginning in the 1950s and growing throughout the early 1960s. Through enslavement, although enslavement was abolished and formerly enslaved persons were officially granted political rights after the Civil War, Blacks continue to be systematically disenfranchised and excluded from public life in most Southern states. Let's just say all of the states, come on, not just in the South, leading them to become perpetual second-class citizens. We might need to say fourth class. By the 1950s, the continued discrimination against Black Americans, often taking an extremely violent form, triggered a social movement of epic proportions, based mainly in Black American churches and colleges of the South. The American Civil Rights Movement involved protest marches, boycotts, and extensive efforts of civil disobedience, such as sit-ins, as well as voter education and voter registration drives. You all, this is what brought about the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So my question to you is, if our parents and grandparents participated in marches, boycotts, sit-ins, shut-ins, and all of the other forms of protest because we were the ones suffering the most from racist policies, how is it that we ended up with civil rights for all minorities? And almost 70 years later, who benefited the most? Karen. These programs protect white wealth and protect it from flowing to our community. How do you justify that? How do you justify that? And now we have a president who's saying that whites deserve reparations. Trump suggests reparations for white victims of racial discrimination. This is what salvation looks like for European Americans, family. You have to get this. You have to get this. This is when he was, before he was sworn in. It says he was suggesting that white Americans receive reparations as victims of racial discrimination in education. In a video widely shared on social media, Trump promised to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity. The president-elect threatened to tax endowments and issue fines against colleges who engage in the so-called discrimination against white Americans. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. It's hurting the country. It's hurting the country, you all. He said colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we're going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. Now let's pause right there. Did you catch what he said? We're going to get this anti-American insanity. Are you hearing what he's insinuating? You all, some of this, it's just so hard to wrap your brain around this. So, what you need to understand is that these initiatives, civil rights, DEI, these are scams to keep the wealth in white communities. But because the names give the appearance that so called Black Americans were benefiting, and because of that, Europeans were alienated, they now need reparations, even though Becky benefited most from DEI and affirmative action. And all of these things are happening right before our eyes. Now they don't even have to give an appearance of being fair in hiring practices. But it goes deeper than that because it's not just here. This is from AP. How Trump's pledge to punish South Africa reflects Musk's criticism of his homeland. So Trump said there were some really bad things going on in South Africa, including the confiscation of property and people being treated horribly. Of course, we know he's not talking about the melanated Afrikaners, right? We know that. He's not talking about them. But let's see what's going on. It says U.S. President Donald Trump said he will cut all funding to South Africa, all funding, over what he called a human rights violation, a move that reflects Elon Musk's repeated and false claims over the years that authorities in his country of birth are anti-white and even encouraging the killing of white people. Trump said on Sunday that terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things, but he didn't provide specifics. He said they're taking away land. And actually, they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that. So all they have to do is insinuate. Just put it out there. It says, while it wasn't clear exactly what Trump was referring to, he appeared to be referencing a new law in South Africa that gives the government powers, in some instances, to expropriate land from people. Musk, a close Trump ally and head of Trump's new Department of Government Efficiency, has highlighted that law, and he sees it as a threat to South Africa's white minority. So this comes from Elon Musk, a white Afrikaner. But let's see what those people who are being treated so badly had to say about this.
U.S. President Donald Trump's offer to take in white South Africans as refugees fleeing persecution may not spur quite the rush he anticipated. An executive order he signed on Friday provided for resettlement in the U.S. of, quote, Afrikaners in South Africa who are victims of unjust racial discrimination as refugees. Afrikaners are mostly white South African descendants of Dutch and French settlers, some tracing back their roots in the country to the 17th century. But it's not clear they want to flee the place they've called home for hundreds of years.
Why would you want to go? There hasn't been any really bad taking over of land. The people are carrying on like normal. And, what are you going to do over there?
That was the response from Neville van der Merwe, a white 78-year-old pensioner living in Cape Town. And he had this to say about Trump cutting off aid to his country.
We all know how Mr. Trump behaves, so why should they do that? It is being spiteful.
Trump is pushing back against a law signed last month by President Cyril Ramaphosa, aimed at addressing the country's unequal land ownership. White South Africans make up less than a tenth of the country's population, but a legacy of the racist apartheid government left 3/4 of privately owned land in the hands of the white minority, after 3.5 million black people were forced from their homes. The new law makes it easier for the state to expropriate land for what it says is the public interest.
And we will not be bullied.
Ramaphosa's governing African National Congress, or ANC, has defended the measure and accused Trump of amplifying misinformation propagated by AfriForum, an Afrikaner-led group. And even that group, which lobbied Trump's previous administration on their cause, said it was not taking up his offer.
We have to state categorically, we don't want to move elsewhere.
That's AfriForum CEO Callie Creel speaking on Saturday. Alongside Creel was Philip Buys, who chairs the Solidarity Trade Union, a group that says it represents 600,000 Afrikaner families.
We may disagree with the ANC, but we love the country. As in any community, there are individuals who wish to immigrate, but the repatriation of Afrikaners as refugees is not a solution for us. We want to build a future in South Africa.
Some said they appreciated Trump's gesture. Werner van Niekerk is a carpenter in Bothasig.
I think it's a very nice gesture from Donald Trump to offer us asylum over there.
He did not say whether he planned to take up the offer.
Family. So what has Musk said previously about South Africa? He accused the government of allowing a genocide to happen. A genocide? Really? Now, while those events, killings, have been condemned, experts have said there is no evidence of any genocide, and they are part of South Africa's extremely high violent crime rates and mostly related to farm robberies. Crime affects all South Africans, and the country has an average of 70 homicides a day, with look, some cities have about that much here in America, with the vast majority of the victims Black. Musk also waded into the issue by replying to a post asking, why do you have openly racist ownership laws? Now, just pause on that one. Why do you have openly racist ownership policy laws? Can we not ask the same question about America? It says, again, it remains unclear exactly what Musk was referring to, but his comments seem to allude to South Africa's affirmative action laws in businesses that are designed to advance opportunities for Blacks and other racial groups who were disadvantaged under apartheid. Disadvantaged. So, what's the truth? We need to get the facts. More than 30 years after the end of the apartheid system of white minority rule, white people in South Africa still have a much higher standard of living than Black people. Look at the poverty statistics. With a 2021 study by the South African Human Rights Commission finding that 64% of Black people are living in poverty compared to 1% of white people. Now this is the one that got me. When it comes to land, white people make up 7% of the population, but they own 70% of the land. 70%. You all, please tell me how this is just. Who's really in charge of South Africa? You would think that it's the melanated Africans, but no, it's those who have the wealth. But the president of the United States is getting involved in the affairs of people who are not even American citizens. Why? They are members of his tribe. He was sending a message about European dominance. All Elon Musk had to do was make it appear like white folks in South Africa were not being treated fairly. They cut off aid before they even verified the facts. They drafted a plan to bring the so-called Afrikaner refugees here. But not once did they draft a plan to bring any Palestinians. It's in black and white. It's in black and white. And do you know who will support these policies more so than anyone else? White evangelicals. Let's go on. So the president of South Africa responded, and he basically, assured him that whites in South Africa were not being mistreated. But what would America's response be to a nation who said something about the unfair practices here that created roadblocks to ensure the continued disenfranchisement of our people? So who fights for us? Answer that question. Who fights for us? Is it them? The Congressional Black Caucus? Is it him? No, because they say they are for all Americans. But you see America's president getting involved in land issues in another country to make sure his tribe is being treated fairly, and they are not U.S. citizens. Who fights for us? We have thugs going into our communities wearing masks, shouting hateful words at them, waving Nazi flags. But they didn't break any laws. It's free speech. Why that neighborhood? To send a message. And they always, always begin with fear. So here's the passage I need to share with you. This is what was given to me. This comes from Nehemiah 6, 9 through 16. For they all were trying to make us afraid. This is what Nehemiah is saying. They were all trying to make us afraid, saying their hands will be weakened in the work, and it will not be done. Now, therefore, this is what Nehemiah is saying. He's praying, O Yah, strengthen my hands. It says, afterwards, I came to the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of, you all these names, Mehetabel, who was a secret informer. And he said, let us meet together in the house of Yah within the temple, and let us close the doors of the temple, for they are coming to kill you, Nehemiah. Indeed, at night they will come to kill you. And I said, should such a man as I flee? And who is there such as I who would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. Then I perceived that Yah had not sent him at all, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. For this reason he was hired, that I should be afraid and act that way and sin, so that they might have cause for an evil report, that they might reproach me. Most High, remember Tobiah and Sanballat according to these their works, and the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets who would have made me afraid. So the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elul, in 52 days. It goes on to say, and it happened when all our enemies heard of it, and all the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was done by the Most High. So what's happening here? What were they doing? They were trying to stop the progress Nehemiah was making. And there are several key things that we need to see here. The enemy will always begin with fear tactics. Goliath was used to instill fear in Saul and his army. They will often use another Israelite as an informant. They're going to find one among us. It's the divide and conquer strategy. How do they do it? Well, with Nehemiah, they tried to set him up. They wanted to have something to charge him with. He wasn't a priest, but they wanted to make him so afraid that he would go against the law and go into the temple. They will also use false prophets or religious ideology, but fear was the main weapon used to get him to act rashly. So what are we talking about here? Is this COINTELPRO? Is that what we're looking at here? Now pay attention to what Nehemiah did. He didn't allow their words to make him afraid. He knew how to discern an enemy, and we really need to work on that one. He also knew the law. He didn't let them trick him into going into the temple. He didn't follow blindly because someone called themselves a prophet. He tested what he heard with the standard, which is the word. Most importantly, he did not give in to fear because he had complete trust that Yah would protect him. Now let's go back to the passage. Nehemiah prayed against them, asking that they would be judged according to their works. He included the false prophets and the prophetess who tried to use prophecy to cause him to be afraid. What was the end result? He finished the wall. Why? He refused to give in to fear. He kept working on his assignment during their tactics and their threats. When the wall was finished, his enemies were discouraged in their own eyes, it says. They knew that they failed. Not only that, they knew that the Most High was the one helping Nehemiah. What do we see happening right now, family? The enemy is trying to instill fear. They are evoking fear.
He said he was going to do. I think if anybody is surprised, they shouldn't be.
On his first day back in office, President Trump signed an executive order dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government. He also ended affirmative action in federal contracting, reversing policies dating back to Lyndon Johnson's administration.
This is him trying to follow through on campaign promises to make it harder for black voters to move forward and to be successful in society.
Public opinions are mixed.
You're not do away with it, no.
It's not right. It's going against the grain.
Former State Senator Adam Ollier sees the changes as a smokescreen to undermine workplace equity.
This is not about fairness or equity. This is about punishing people who don't vote for him.
The move is also projected to have a chilling effect on private sector DEI programs. Federal agencies are directed to identify compliance probes for corporations and universities engaged in diversity initiatives, and that's raising some concerns.
Well, we know that the metrics matter, right? We understand that metrics are important, and we know that companies cannot force people to be diverse, to have equity or inclusion.
Detroit pastor Lorenzo Sewell, who attended the National Prayer Service with the president, is very critical of DEI.
That there was a little maybe intellectual dishonesty if you're a proponent of legacy policy. So because your father worked here, we're going to hire you. We're going to give you an advantage because your father went to this Ivy League school.
Listen, I'm a business owner and I'm also a local church pastor. Anyone that I hire, I don't hire because of their skin color. I don't hire because of their sexual orientation. And I don't know any entrepreneur or any business owner or any government official that says I'm going to select someone because of the way they look or because of their gender. I believe that we live in a country where if you are the best at what you do and you're the most competent, the Bible says that your gift makes room for you.
So they believe he's erasing 70 years of civil rights progress. Tell me how. Please tell me how when white women benefited the most. Apparently, having 4% of the wealth is too much. That's too much. You can't even have 4%. They need to take that too. When you consider the number of people being laid off, it can be a cause for concern. Make sure you understand that they are trying to get people ready for the 2030 agenda. By 2030, a lot of jobs will be lost, most to AI and robots. So a plan has been put in place to make sure a certain tribe will have the best of the remaining available jobs. So family, you are going to have to learn how to stand in faith now. Go back and meditate on how Yah came through for our ancestors when they placed their trust in him. They're trying to make people so afraid, particularly those in our community. It's like, well, how will you make ends meet? You have no job. They're taking away the job. And this is in your face constantly, 24/7. So a lot of our people are moving in fear right now. You don't know what to do. You're afraid. But remember, the Most High sent manna from heaven. He'll do it again if he has to. Elijah had birds delivering his fast food. Think about that. You have to learn how to walk by faith now and get the word down in your heart, even if you just have 5. You just need 5 smooth stones in your pocket, something that you can stand on. You have to remember how to get into the secret place. Know how to get into the secret place and wait for Yah's strategy. We don't know how long we're going to be here, but we know we need his strategy. The last thing you should do, no, this is something you do not do. Do not go crying to Pharaoh, expecting him to meet your needs. He's not our source. Right now, they expect us to be out there protesting. That's what they want us. They want us out there protesting and burning things down.
We begin in the United States, where tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets against the Trump administration on Wednesday. The demonstrations came as people decried the White House's early actions, including immigration crackdowns, rollbacks on gender rights, and tariffs on allied nations. The protests were the result of a movement that was organized under the hashtags Build the Resistance and 50501, which stands for 50 protests, 50 states, 1 day. The largest protest took place in California, Oregon, Washington State, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, New York, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C. The demonstrations were even seen in traditional red states like Texas, Alabama, Alaska, Missouri, and Ohio.
I feel like the movement is growing. I mean, we've only had to deal with him for the last 16 days. So I think people are waking up to what we're faced with and are going to be coming into the streets.
In 2016, we didn't know what he was really going to do in office, but now we know. And yeah, I don't know. I can't understand how he got elected. I can't understand how people are okay with this. And I hope that people will start to push back before it's too late.
Throughout cities including Atlanta, Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, protesters chanted slogans like "Death to Fascism," "Save Democracy," "No Human is Illegal," and "Impeach Trump."
This is what democracy looks like. Who's going to stop us? This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. You make us proud.
The protesters also rallied against President Trump's closest ally, Elon Musk, with many holding signs calling for the deportation of the billionaire.
Elon Musk has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Elon Musk has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Elon Musk has got to go.
We are witnessing in real time the most corrupt bargain in American history. Elon Musk contributed, paid over $250 million to help elect Donald Trump. And now Donald Trump is turning over the keys to the Treasury and the rest of the federal government to Elon Musk. We need to end this illegal power grab, and we are going to do it now. We are not going back.
Also, rally saw the participation of several Democratic leaders who urged the Trump administration to reconsider shutting down the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. In fact, while accusing Elon Musk of calling the shots in the White House. Now, it hasn't even been a full month in office for President Trump, and he's already facing backlash, not just from political opposition, but from even ordinary Americans.
So, what did you notice, family? Did you see a lot of brown faces out there? It's usually us out there. Who's protesting now? I saw a lot of brown faces, but they were reporters. They were with the media. This is a surprise to them. Hey, you all should be out here protesting and marching. No, we've been there and done that. How did it work out for us? Did that strategy come from the Most High? We can clearly see that other minority groups benefited more, and the wealth gap remained. They are surprised that a lot of our people are saying, no, we're sitting this one out. Because melanated faces are supposed to be out there, but they don't see us. Trust me, they have taken note of that. So they need new strategies. We have folks from other groups going off on us, you all, going off on us, because we're not out there protesting on their behalf, on behalf of the 96%. What happened in the past? Our people would go out there and protest, and then they would send in agents and imposters to start fights and fires and burn down the community, and then blame us for it. Notice where they marched. Did you take note of that? It wasn't in their community. Who are they marching for? They're marching for their own interests. We marched for everybody. So who's going to benefit? Karen and the alphabet community. Most importantly, they tied all of our struggles to every marginalized group, even something that has nothing whatsoever to us being melanated people. Your sexual preference, what does that have to do with your rights as a human being to have dark skin? What does that have to do with it? But it's tied to that. Karen's issues are tied to our issues. So every marginalized group benefited except for us. Our situation remained the same. But they need to put melanated faces out there because they need their base to believe that it was us who was benefiting from these affirmative actions and civil rights laws. Are you seeing how this works? So they want us to join with them. We need to unite. Really? No. Black America, please join us. No, we cannot join with no one else. No one else. Because their issues are not our main issue. We need to get that as a people. We need to get that. And all these things they're fighting for, LGBTQ rights, the Most High is not going to show up on our behalf with us out there fighting for that. We can guarantee that. That's a guarantee. No. We don't need to unite with anyone. The Gentiles are supposed to be joined to us, not us to them. So that's the first thing. We need to throw it out of the window. But I was very impressed because I watched several videos, and for the most part, our people are keeping their word. It's like, I'll be on the couch. And they are. They are. But remember the tactics that they use. If that's not going to work, then they're going to find those among us, like with Nehemiah. Pay them off. This is what we can do for your career. You need to stand up and be the spokesperson and talk to your people and tell them this is what we need to do. So you have the talking heads out there telling our people, y'all need to go and boycott Publix and go. No, let the 96% who benefited go out there. We have to watch those among us and be discerning, like Nehemiah, to know who sent them. Did you come from the Most High? Or did the enemy send you? And trust me, we struggle with that one still. So we need help with that. We need to be praying about that. That the Most High will expose all of them. All of them. Let them be exposed. Let them not be able to hide. Expose their wicked deeds. So, yeah, you got some folks upset with us because we're not out there. Now, we can see certainly the rise of bigotry against every institution and opportunity that can benefit our people. What is it about our culture, our legacy, and our very existence that makes that's so frightening to these people? What are they afraid of? You already know the answer. You know the answer. The question is, will we stand in faith against the onslaught or give in to fear? Look at this from Isaiah 26, 3-4. You will keep him in perfect peace. Who's going to do that? The Most High, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. That's key. That's key. If we're shaking in our boots every day, panicking, it's an indication that we don't trust him. Verse 4, trust in the Most High forever. For in Yah, the Most High, is everlasting strength. Our strength is going to come from him. Our sustenance is going to come from him. He owns it all. He owns it all. So we're not going to Pharaoh this time. We're going to our source. But you need to start now. Start with the little things. Start learning how to walk in faith so that when the enemy comes and start dangling things in your face, you won't be tempted to fall for those things because you have no faith in Yah. Don't let that be you. We need to stand this time, family. We need to learn how to stand. Learning how to walk in faith and peace is extremely important for us in this season. Put the work in now. Put aside the foolishness and pride so that we can be a help to each other in our time of need. And just a quick announcement here. One of our team members is compiling a list of potential open job positions, and some folks have already sent her some positions that are open. But if you know of something that's open, you can send an email to rwallace@lifeandtruth.org. And moderators, if you can put that in the chat, that would be very helpful. And she can add it to the list that she has. And for those who may be looking for something, then you can also send her an email to see if there's anything on the list that may be of interest to you. We have to look for ways to work together instead of always looking for ways to fight each other and tear each other down, family. Stop giving the enemy that satisfaction. How can we help each other? Abraham was like, I'll just move to a new location, but I'm not going to fight with you, Lot. I'm just not going to fight with you. We have enough enemies. We have enough people working to destroy us, to wipe us out. Yah, help us to stop doing it to each other. We need help. We need help. And with the right heart and mind, we certainly can look for ways that we can help each other. Because our enemies are looking for ways to block any progress that we can make. But it also tells us they're afraid of something. They see what's going on. They see what's happening. They see the progress that's being made. They see that we're getting an understanding now of our true history. They see it. They don't see our brown faces out there protesting. So they know that something is changing. They know that there's a shift in the atmosphere. So they need to stop the progress. Will you stand in faith? Will you stand in faith? When you get the negative report, will you just turn your face to the wall and begin to pray and call out to the Most High, the one who can change your situation? All of us have to deal with something. But here's the thing. Whether we work together or not, there are those who are out to destroy our people. That is clear. If you can't see it in this environment, I don't know what to say. And a lot of the religious leaders that I'm listening to, they are applauding it. You know why? Because our struggle is tied into everybody else's struggle. So yes, trans, LGBT, everybody is a part of that civil rights legislation. So you almost have to throw the baby out with the bathwater in that case. But this is a perfect time for us to take our eyes off of Pharaoh and look to the hills from whence cometh our help. Our help comes from the Most High Yah. And he's not going to fight for us as long as we keep trying to turn to Pharaoh, turn to these paganistic practices and tendencies. He is able to deliver. We know that. We know that. But there are things that we can do as well. Faith without what? Works. Works. So let's see what you all are talking about. Ooh-wee. Y'all been talking a lot. Y'all been talking a lot. What y'all talking about? Let's see. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of you. It's good to have all of you joining us today for this session or tonight here. Peace and blessings to all of you. Peace and blessings. If you're joining us for the first time, again, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'll go midway. Let's see what we have here. Shaya says they're trying to keep us turning to them. That's exactly right. Council's girl, they may plan, but the Most High is still on the throne and in control. Byron says, don't be scared. Bien change. We're used to pulling ends together. I know that's right. I was talking to my mother the other day. It was like, do you remember back in the day we used to eat the sugar sandwich? Some of that may be before the time for some of you. But yeah, we used to sprinkle sugar on bread when there wasn't much in the house to eat, add a little water and make a sugar sandwich. Now, nobody's doing that today, but we're used to pulling ends together. So no, don't let them get the upper hand. Don't let them get the upper hand. The other thing we need to be doing is praying that the Most High Yah will cause all of their best laid plans to backfire. Let it backfire. Let it catch fire. Let it fail. Let it fall. All of the traps that they set for us, let them fall into it. Let them receive sevenfold return for their wickedness. All of the ones who are planning and scheming right now, let their wicked deeds return upon their own heads. Let's see. Notorious Hebrew, the earth will help you start planting. All right now. Cheryl says everything on schedule. That's right. Ivan says there's nothing new under the sun. Felicia, yes, Yah will. Absolutely. Let's see. TJ Rose, thanks for this encouragement. All praises to Abba. Like I said, I had something else planned to present tonight, but he knows best. Yes, Yo Bop, they want us, and some of them gone deleted. How you doing, Biblical Truths and Misconceptions? Sister Vita, okay. How you doing? Lamp of Oil, they want us to leave. That's exactly right. We already know that something has to happen before we leave here, right? I would encourage you to also, I did a series, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, about Exodus, when we leave the second time. I would encourage you to go back and listen to that playlist as well. That's a good one. Put you in the right frame of mind of what needs to happen before we get out of here. B. Smith, that's right. Our Exodus is going to be spectacular and put fear in the heathens. Absolutely. Dorothy, oh yeah, they always had the upper hand. Absolutely. They're keeping the money, the resources in their own communities and making it seem like they're a majority. Women are actually 49% of the population right now. So really, how much of a minority are we talking about here? Masonama says, it is written, and walk in wisdom. Lion of Judah. I don't know what those white farmers are going to do about cheap labor now that's south of the border. Migrants are being deported. Israel, be careful of prison labor camps. You know what? We shouldn't put it past them, folks. We shouldn't put it past them. You're welcome, Misty. All praises to the Most High. Yakraya Malikia says, we cannot, I know I messed that up, brother. Sorry. We cannot play their game. No, we certainly can't. The whole truth, so help me, Yah. Don't want anything from the system. I know that's right. Chosen daughter of Zion, I'm having to do this now. I ask daily. Yah, just give me my daily bread just for today. Absolutely. It's going to be a test of faith, but we can fight and win, family. You know what it starts with? Knowing that your Heavenly Father loves you. The day is going to come now when our brother's going to have to take up arms. That day is going to come because that's a part of the prophecy. We know that that's coming. So that's something you have to prepare for as well. So let's go on. Let's see. Trying to get through some of these. Charles West talking about a raccoon. I'm not sure which one. His name is Emmanuel. Good evening, family. We were given the keys to the kingdom, family. Use your authority. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Let's see. Saul says that has nothing to do with us. That's right. Stay out of that. Georgetta, yes, the Most High gave us manna and more. I know that's right. Manna from the sky, water from the rocks. Let's see. Hebrew girl, I live in Missouri, and I can tell you we ain't marching. We ain't marching. Yohanan, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Most High, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Praise his holy name. Janetta, I stay minding my business. I'm not going out there. Misty says, I take my protest vertically. Lion of Judah 7:7. 70% of white people voted for Donald Trump. Well, yeah. Look what they got in return. Look what they got in return. Raw and spicy Jamaican. All right now. That's my husband with his spicy Jamaican food. Says, I keep telling people Pinky and the Brain was going to run this country. Pinky and the Brain. And everybody didn't believe me. Donald is just the front man. Who in the world is Pinky and the Brain? I have not heard about that. Yeah, those percentages are pretty high, Lion of Judah, and now they want us to come to the rescue. I don't think so. Kifa Ben Yasharel, just like it was in the civil rights era. That's exactly what happened. Exactly. And they sacrifice. It's like, well, we just won't ride the bus. But no, the Most High has something better for us this time. So let's see. Janetta says it was my son on the mic telling Trump to sit up. He's not the president. That was a sad scene right there. Kind of embarrassing, you all, but hey. Let's see. Just a few more. 9:17. I'm hearing thunder outside, you all. We're supposed to be having some bad weather come through here. So I'm trying to get it finished. All right. 12 foundations cry out to the Most High every day. Georgetta says, we're on vacation. We're on vacation. Yeah. And in that prayer closet, Rolanda says, we're on divine stand down orders. You all remember to hit the like, help us get these messages out. If you would go ahead and hit the like for us. Let's see. Just a few more. I don't care what happens to them or how they feel. Harvest season is here, is what Notorious Hebrew is saying. All right. Just know that the Most High, he's got us. He knows what's going to happen. He's aware. It won't catch him by surprise. Mordecai says our so-called leaders allowed our movements to be diluted. Well, because, yeah, the belay, absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody please tell me, what was that all about, Joe Biden joining the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge in South Carolina? What, you all, I have my answer for that, but what's your answer? What was that all about? You all already know, but what was that all about? He's going to go and join a Black Lodge. Now, remember, back in the day, the brothers couldn't join their lodge, but they could join the Prince Hall lodges. But the day after he's finished with his office, he goes and he's now a part of a Prince Hall Lodge. What was that all about? Did you all not hear about that? Yeah, they didn't put that one out there a lot, but I did see it. Skull and Bones member. Marley says, I'm so ashamed of my state. It was in Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah. So that was interesting. But yeah, I have my ideas about that one. Shaya says he probably doesn't even know where he's at. No, I think that was by design. Oh yeah, that was by design. That was by design, because it won't be long that just because of the office he held, who's really going to be in charge? And then when you talk about uniting to get certain efforts moving, that Masons, that are behind all of this, then yeah, are they going to follow orders? Will they follow orders? There are some among us we need to watch, family. We need to watch. We need to be discerning and wise. We can't just look at black skin or brown skin. We need to be like Nehemiah and ask the Most High to give us eyes to see so that we know who is for us. Just don't take things at face value. There are those who will sell us out if they get a chance. Just trying to tell you. They come and sit among you and pretend to be a part of the group. We're with you. We're one of you. And there are some that the Most High will allow, like Judas. Judas was there and given an opportunity to hear and receive truth. But he was a son of perdition. Son of perdition. So we need to know who is among us. Ask the Most High to help us. Ask him to expose those who may say or be operating in a leadership capacity, but they're wolves, they're seed of the serpent. Let the fire of heaven chase them out of their hiding place. Let their wicked deeds be exposed. Pray for the Most High to break the back of our enemies. Don't pray these little God love everybody prayers. We need to pray. Nehemiah, how did he pray? He prayed judgment against those who came against him. So just trust that the Most High's got us. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up there. Thank you all for being with me. Again, I will upload what I had planned for tonight for our next upload on Sunday, y'all willing. Again, if you have not hit the like button, please do that. Also, if you would share the messages, we would greatly appreciate it. So family, be blessed. Again, I'm hearing thunder out there. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. But thanks for joining me. Be blessed, family.